anything and everything.
Do you ever wonder how to? Do you ever wonder why?
About anything and everything. Then Doris is your guide. Anything and everything will open your mind. Anything and everything with Doris. Anything and everything with Doris is online. Remember. Anything and everything with Doris.
You are listening to Anything and Everything with Doris podcast. This episode is brought to you by WYSK Spark Radio, the spark of the South. Listen to hits from the 70s till now. Find it on Live 365 Spark Radio. Hello, everyone. It's great to be back from our short hiatus. I want to tell all of our mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. I hope it was blessed. We actually returned from our trip the morning of Mother's Day, and I was blessed to be treated to a steak dinner that my son Jonathan put on the grill for me. So I hope everybody else had a blessed day as well. As many of you know, besides the podcast and radio station, WYSK Spark Radio, I also have a blog and I write for several different publications and companies. I write about several different topics, but I've also been asked to give reviews of products and services that I am already using, and sometimes I even get products and services sent to me to try out for an honest review. And that's exactly what I will give you, is an honest review. So I felt like my podcast audience may like to hear some personal experiences that I have recently run into with a couple of companies. One thing about my reviews, besides being honest, is that I will call you out whether in a positive shout out or not so positive shout out. I don't do it in a mean, ugly way, even if I think you deserve it, but I want to show people who deal with customers and clients that it pays to be professional and courteous all the time, because you never know who you're dealing with. And besides that, don't we all deserve the best treatment? We all deserve the best customer care and service. I'm old school, and my first job outside of my mom's upholstery business was Kmart, and we were taught that the customer is always right. We would bend over backwards to keep our customers happy because we wanted them to come back, right? If customers don't come back, I don't have a job. And that's exactly how we were taught. Unfortunately, the world just doesn't work that way anymore. I don't care where you go. It could be fast food restaurants. It could be fine dining restaurants, department stores, services like insurance or cell phones, even furniture stores, car lots. I don't care where you go. You can always find someone with the I don't care if you go somewhere else attitude. And I've even experienced this in other countries. So it isn't just here in America. So today, I want to talk about an experience I had recently with Sprint and Asurion. I also want to discuss the products in this story, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be on the next episode because this is probably going to take a little bit. Now, my husband and I had planned a trip with Carnival over a year ago for my birthday, and my daughter also decided to come along with her family and get married in Cozumel. So my cell phone wasn't holding a charge anymore, even after I bought a new battery. So after 4 years, I decided I needed to get another phone. Now, I use my phone a lot for business, right? I have the radio show, I have the podcast, I need the camera and the video all the time. So I really needed a good phone, and I needed one that had a good battery. Well, my husband and I, for the past decade, we have our own businesses, and we've used separate cell phone carrier services. And I thought, let's find a carrier we both like and set up a business account and have one bill. So after researching companies, I narrowed it down to 3, and we were going to pick one before our trip, which was May 5th to the 12th. And here were my requirements to get my service. Number 1, I wanted a Note 9. You had to be able to give me a Note 9. And my husband, he needed a durable phone. It had to be something that you could practically run over it with a truck and it still survive. So that's the 2 types of phones we were looking for. Number 2, Must be able to transfer my current number. Now, I've been in business over 10 years. I'm not willing to change my number. I would lose business that way, right? Number 3, must be able to cover most of the USA since my husband drives over the road from coast to coast. There's nothing worse than a truck driver or even a traveler being caught somewhere and not having service. That could actually be a disaster, right? And then number 4, reasonably priced. I'm all about inexpensive. I don't want cheap. I want great products and great service. I just don't want to pay an arm and a leg. That's a simple list, but it would be a deal breaker if you can't provide any one of those items. So my husband returns home to have his truck serviced, and it's about 45 minutes away from where we live, so we decided we'd stay nearby. This was on February 22nd of 19. Now, to kill time, we saw a Sprint store and decided to go check them out. After all, that was one of the 3 stores we were interested in. We did not intend on switching services that day, but Janica at the Sprint store on 1451 Manhattan Boulevard in Harvey, Louisiana was so awesome. We couldn't pass it up, right? Not only Janica, but everyone else in that store was absolutely amazing. I'm talking the sales guys. I'm talking the tech guys. You couldn't have asked for better treat. So my husband and I both received the phone and all kinds of free stuff along with it. And we didn't even have to put a penny down. We're going to talk about those products in the next episode. Now let's fast forward to May 4th. It's only about 70 days that I've been with Sprint and I've been using my Note 9 and I'm in love with my Note 9. I'm one of these people, I hang on to my phone till it dies. I don't need to upgrade every year, every other year. My last phone lasted me 4 years and it was like, you can put a new battery in me, I'm dead. So I fell in love with this Note 9 and I'm thinking, oh, if I could get another 4 years out of this, I would be in heaven. This is the perfect phone for me. What I didn't know about the Note 9 is it has one flaw so far that I've realized. And it's a very common flaw many people have issues with. The problem with the Note 9 is it has a tray that carries the SIM card as well as the SD card. You say, no problem, right? That's cool. Problem is, if you don't have the phone laying down on the desk when you insert that tray with the cards, it's quite easy that the SD card can fall out and go into the phone. Well, I didn't know this. And I did not have that phone completely flat on my desk. I was holding it in my hand, in my my right hand, and I was using my left hand to insert the tray. And it was pretty level to me, but I guess it wasn't level enough that when I went to insert the tray, the SD card fell into the phone. So now I have a card in the phone, and you can't close the tray, right? Because the card's in there. So forget about that. This phone is not going to work while the card is in the phone. Now we're about to leave early in the morning on May 5th. And this is May 4th, 6:30 in the evening. And I'm panicked, My husband, my hero, says, don't worry about it. The Sprint store usually stays open at 8:30 on a Saturday. We'll run in there and they'll know what to do and they'll fix it for you. No problem. Now, of course, because I don't live right close to everything, I don't have time to get all pretty. I'll leave as I am, hair thrown up in a ponytail, no makeup, rags, because I had been packing and cleaning all day. And my husband rushed out so quickly, he forgot his working phone. So now we're leaving the house in a hurry, and the only phone we have is my broken phone. So the closest store to where we live is in Kenner. So we run over to the Sprint store at 303 West Esplanade in Kenner. And now it's about 7 p.m. when we get there, or close to it. And the tech guy Well, actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't a tech guy. It was a sales guy. And they have one sales guy in there. And we run in and we explain to the gentleman what happened. And he kindly took it from me. He tipped it upside down and it wouldn't fall out. So he told us, look, we don't have a tech here at this store. So run over to the store at 4025 Veterans Boulevard and maybe their tech can open the phone and take it out. So we thanked him. He was really polite. He had a solution. Off we go. So we get to 4025 Veterans Boulevard. It's now about maybe 7:20, somewhere around there. And there are several salespeople there, and there are 2 techs in the window. So they had 2 techs in there. And there was about maybe 3 customers in the store looking around. So we walk in, and no one tried to help. My husband asked the salesman, who was just standing around, if he could help us, where would we take our phone? And before my husband could say anything else, the tech said, I'll be with you in a minute, and continued standing. After about a minute, my husband asked again, and he replied, Sir, I'm with a customer. I'll be with you in a minute. Now, he was just standing there and we couldn't see anybody. So, maybe Casper was in. I don't know. We couldn't see him. So then the sales guy walks up to a customer and asks how he could help him. Really? Wow, I couldn't believe it. Like, we were just asking you for help. You tell us to wait. You have a customer. You go over to this customer and ask him. So obviously the guy didn't ask you for anything. And guess what? The guy was just looking. He didn't even want any help. So the sales guy came back to us. My husband explained it. He brought us over to the tech. The tech guy takes his little light, peeks into the phone, says there's nothing in it, and hands it back to the sales guy. The sales guy says to my husband, there's nothing in it. Now, it's funny because we could hear the tech guy tell the sales guy that, right? But yet the sales guy's repeating what the tech just told him. So anyway, I say, yes, there is. You can't even close the door that holds the SIM card and the SD card. So then he gives it back to the tech, which we later on find out his name is Mike. So Mike looks at it again and says, oh, yes, I see it. So Mike takes out his handy little gadget that we non-tech people recognize as the paperclip. He unwinds it, pokes it in and out for a few minutes, and he can't get it out. Next, Mike must be getting a bit aggravated with it and begins jabbing it in and out really hard. And me and my husband are just looking at each other in disbelief, like, is this really happening? Are we being punked? Like, this is supposed to be a tech guy, you know? Anybody else could have grabbed a paper clip. Like, how in the world? And then he's doing it so hard. I'm thinking, oh my God, he's pulverizing my phone, right? And the sales guy, who's still standing there, is laughing at this. He thinks this is funny. And I'm like, oh my goodness. The next thing you know, the tech hands the sales guy the phone and says that I need to make a claim. I need to make a claim after he pulverized my phone. So my husband takes the phone, he tips it upside down, and guess what? Metal flakes come out onto the desk. So now my phone is definitely going to need replacing rather than just getting the card out. So my husband asked which phone to use, because now we have to make a phone call to make the claim. And the guy really didn't even want us in there making the claim. He acted as if we needed to leave. And my husband said, this is the only phone that we have and it isn't working, so we need to borrow your phone and make a claim. So the guy takes us to the wall of demo phones and says, pick one. So my husband finally finds one that works. You know, when you call these people, you gotta hang on the phone a few minutes, blah, blah, blah. So we hang on the phone. We finally get somebody. We say a couple of sentences. And guess what? The demo has ended. It hung up on us. So we go to the lady sitting in the corner. She was like near the registers in the corner. And she apologized and points to the phone across from her, that's directly across from her where she's sitting on the other side of the room, and says, dial 9 and then 1 and then the number. I'm really sorry I didn't get her name because she was the only decent person in that store that night. After being on hold, finally told it would be $275 and the replacement phone would be rushed out and I'd have it at my door on Monday morning. So here's the problem. I'm leaving the country tomorrow morning. I won't be here and I need the phone for my trip, right? Not only is it, going to be a nice birthday trip, my daughter's getting married, but I'm going to be podcasting. I'm going to be working on what I do for my shows. So it's a business trip as well. I need my Note 9. So I was then told there's nothing they can do. I have a business account with them and now I cannot even use my phone for business while I go out of the country. I asked the claim people if there was anything they could do. And I was told to speak with Sprint since the insurance company isn't affiliated with Sprint. So then I spoke with the lady in the corner and asked her if she could help or was it a manager's call to make. So she kindly sent me back to the tech who just pulverized my phone and said that he was the manager. So the tech, Mike, then said there was nothing he could do since he works for the insurance company. So now I'm confused. Do you work for Sprint as the manager or do you work as a tech for the insurance company? And is that why you pulverized my phone? Because you work for the insurance company and now I'm going to have to pay $275. I don't know. I don't know what the heck's going on. So then I talked to another guy who claimed he could help just to be rude to us. And so my husband was like, look, my wife needs a phone. We're leaving the country tomorrow. We cannot wait till Monday. How about I just buy a phone? Let me buy another Note 9 because that's what she's going to need. That's what, I had everything set up. Let me buy her another Note 9 and we'll deal with it when we come back. So this guy says, why would I sell you another phone when you already have one on your account? Well, that's just ridiculous, he said. Okay, so I can't get it repaired. Can't get it replaced. I can't purchase one. So I am confused. I'm in the Sprint store and they can't help me. The tech has broken my phone instead of repairing it. And I'm just wondering what the heck is going on. So I said, well, I'll tell you what. Everything's good with my husband's account and his phone, but why don't you just close my account and I'll go elsewhere and I'll start fresh with someone else. Now, I'm in the store asking the guy to close my account, right? Because obviously you can't help me, and I'm not going to keep paying for this service and I don't have a phone. He thought I was being ridiculous. Why would you do that? And I'm like, because why would I pay you every month when I don't have a phone to use? That's ridiculous. So his advice was, well, you need to go home and call Sprint and let them close the account. And I was like, but I'm standing in the middle of your store. I'm in a Sprint store, which is even better than making a phone call. So why can't you help me with anything? You can't even close out my account. I was absolutely so shocked. This guy says, oh no, we can only open the accounts. We can't close them. And we can't sell you a phone when you already have a phone, even though it's broken on your account. You just have to keep paying your bill, even though you're not going to have cell phone use. Tell me, even a fifth grader would have thought, what the heck? You know what I mean? Oh my goodness. So because my brain couldn't process that ignorance, I had no words for this guy. There's nothing I could say. How do you argue with that? Right? So all I could do is walk out. So in other words, if you are looking to become a customer, then they work with you. But if you're already a customer, too bad, right? They don't care. That's the feeling I got when I was in that Sprint store. And there were a couple of customers watching all this. And if they weren't already with Sprint, if they were smart, after seeing that, they would have walked out. I didn't stay to see if that's what happened. But if I would have saw that kind of service with somebody, I'd have walked out, right? It was just so ridiculous. So what did I have left to do? I had to run to Walmart and go get a Go phone for my trip until I could come back home on the 12th and handle this issue. So we go on a trip, we come back, now it's Sunday, May 12th, Mother's Day, and I've returned, and I'm talking to my son, and I'm like, I guess I gotta call tomorrow. He's like, no, you don't call tomorrow, you call now. You call now, you get this ball rolling now. So I call Sprint and I explain the situation. Now, I don't know if I told you, but on May 4th, after we came back from Walmart with the Go phone, I did call Sprint and I told them everything that happened. And of course, they wanted to give me the runaround, and there was nothing they could do on the spur of the moment anyway, as far as replacing my phone, because now the store's closed. So I'm talking to someone in a call center. So I already have the whole thing that went down at 4025 Veterans Boulevard on record with Sprint on May 4th. So now I'm calling them back on May 12th, and I'm letting them know what went on, and now I'm back, and now we gotta fix it. So of course I kept getting the runaround. They were passing me around person to person. Here was their thinking. Well, ma'am, it doesn't matter what the tech did. You're the one that dislodged the card into the phone to make it inoperable, so it's your problem. Really, I'm not kidding. 3 or 4 different people basically told me that. And so finally asking for a manager. By the way, Heather was really good. So I explained to her, look, I did mess up by not having my phone perfectly straight. I didn't know that was going to be an issue, but, apparently it is. I messed up. It's in the phone, yes. But when I took it to the tech at the store, he made it to where metal flakes are coming out. That's not my doing. That's your tech's doing. So now I'm saying I don't want to pay you $275 to make a claim on something that isn't all my fault. I felt like I did the right thing. I had a problem. I took it to the tech. Why didn't he open it up? Why didn't he, whatever it is they normally should do, why didn't he do that? What was this paperclip jabbing thing, pulverizing my phone incident all about? So this is what Heather does. She listens to my story, and then she calls the store to check on my story, and she comes back and says, well, I called the store, and your story is accurate. That this guy really did take a paper clip to your phone. She couldn't believe it. And now she's willing to compromise. So here's Heather's idea. Since Sprint and Asurion are 2 different companies, and they can't tell Asurion not to charge me any money, she said what we can do is I paid a $275 up front, and Sprint would reimburse me $200 credit on my next bill. Therefore, I would really only be out of $75 when it's all said and done. So I thought, okay, this is fair. I'll agree to that. No problem. So Heather said, look, the best way there's 2 ways to do it. You can make a phone call and do it, or you can do it online. But the quickest, best way, she says, go online and fill it out. So she gave me the address, and I went to that address and I made the claim. Thing is, when I went to make the claim, it advises me to either go to 4025 Veterans Sprint store or the Manhattan store. I think that was like 1451 Manhattan in Harvey. Now, I'm not sure why I have to go to the store. I'm assuming I just have to turn it in. I know I don't want to go to the one on Veterans, right? So I say, okay, in the morning we're going to go to Manhattan. So I check that off that I'll be at Manhattan in the morning, or in the afternoon actually. So now it's Monday, May 13th. It's around 1 p.m. We arrive at the Manhattan store. We explain to the tech we made a claim and we're supposed to turn in our phone. And he's dumbfounded. He's like, for what? I don't understand. So then I tell him the whole story, and he says, well, it's unrepairable, so why would I take it? I can't touch it. And I said, well, I understand, but I'm just doing what I'm told to do. I don't know what you're going to do with it. I don't know if you're supposed to try to repair it or anything, but to my knowledge, I'm just supposed to return this phone to you and get a new phone. That's all I know. Well, he didn't want to touch it. So he was sweet. He was a good guy. He gave me the phone number to call Asurion. So right there in front of him, I'm calling Asurion, and I speak with David with Asurion. And of course, he reads all the notes from all the priors, right? And he says, well, Asurion doesn't want to take a loss. it wasn't our fault that the tech screwed it up. And I said, well, I understand that, but what am I going to do? And he goes, well, you're not going to take a loss either. He said, yes, you did insert the card in there, but that would have been an easy fix. But the technician Mike screwed up that easy fix when he pulverized it with a paper clip. So then he says, and I don't understand why they didn't replace it on May 4th when you went in there, because it's still under warranty. He said it's less than 3 months old, still under warranty. There was no other damage to it. It should have been replaced on the 4th with no problem. Now, this is David with Asurion telling me this. So David says, I need you to take your phone back to the store at 4025 Veterans Boulevard, because they are going to have to give you another phone. Now, I'm terrified of walking back into that store, and I know it's not going to go very well. And I asked David, are you sure I really have to go into that store? And David said, well, listen, that's the store that screwed up your phone. So Manhattan has nothing to do with that. It wouldn't be fair to ask them to give up a phone. The store that caused the issue is the one that needs to give up a phone to you. So, okay, I understand that does make sense, right? So I say, well, could you please call that store? Me and my husband are going to leave Manhattan and go directly straight to the veterans store. Could you please call them and let them know that we're coming and they need to replace our phone? And he said, no problem. You have the number? And I'm like, sure. We gave him the number and he was supposed to call the store, right? So he's calling the store, and on the way, we're on our way to veterans. And when we arrive, we explain what we're there for, and they act like nobody called them. They don't know what we're talking about. But then out comes a tall, pale, red-haired tech, red beard. I would find out later that his name is John. And he claims that he was there on the night of May 4th, and he told the tech not to touch it, and the tech just handed the phone back to me. Now, first of all, John, you were not there. We would have noticed you. What you don't understand, John, was when I made the first call on May 4th, I had described the entire incident along with all the people that were in the store. And then when I called on May 12th, when I come back from my trip, I did the exact same thing. My story never changed, and neither did the people in the story. And never once did I describe a tall, pale, red-haired, red-bearded guy anywhere in the store. And that's because, John, we did not see you. Now, I don't want to call you a liar and say you weren't there. Maybe you were at lunch. Maybe you were in the back somewhere. But I will tell you, you were not in that cage. And you were not on that sales floor, and we did not see you, because we would have recognized you right away when you walked out. Not to mention, it wouldn't have made sense that you being a tech guy, tell the tech not to check out someone's phone. Like, that wouldn't make sense either, right? So my husband looks him in the eye and flat out tells him that's not true. You're lying. Now, me not wanting this to escalate, I advised John, who wants to argue that he was there and this is what really happened. I advised John that no, we did not see you that night. And Asurion has already resolved the issue, so this argument is not going to continue. So now the assistant manager, DeMarcus, comes up, and he's very professional. I'm going to tell you, this guy looked the part, behaved the part, totally professional, young assistant manager. I felt bad for him because he had no idea what was going on, right? He wasn't there on the 4th. And then I've been gone a week. This is the first time I'm returning to the store. He has no idea what's happened. And now he's got a tech who really doesn't know what's going on, other than they don't want to give up a phone. So DeMarcus says, well, I need to call Asurion and verify with them what you're saying. Well, sure, DeMarcus, I get that. I understand that. So he allowed us to call Asurion to verify what we were told to do. And this time, Harvey from Asurion answers the phone. And of course, he reads the notes. and he advises DeMarcus, the assistant manager at 4025 Veterans Boulevard, that they need to replace the phone. Now, DeMarcus, he doesn't have a problem with it, right? He's going to do his job. John, on the other hand, refuses to do so and decides he's going to argue with Harvey. So then Harvey comes back, they give me the phone back to Harvey, and he goes to ask me a few questions. And I clarified to Harvey, I said, I know John's going to tell you that he was there, but he was not. I've already described everyone that was in that store that night. You can check the notes. Nowhere in there is John described as being there. John was not there. We would have noticed him in that cage. And the reason I say that is everybody in that store that night was shorter than John was. And they were of color. They were Spanish and black. That's it. There was no other Caucasians in that store that night except for me and my husband. So if I would have seen someone as tall as John, and he's not a fat guy, but he's a big build, right? He's tall. He's over 6 feet, and he's got a build on him, red hair. Trust me, I would have recognized him. In fact, in the cage was an older Hispanic male and a young black male, and they were both thin and shorter. So John, if you would have been in the cage, we would have recognized you. We would have seen you. You would have stood right out, honey. You were not there. So Harvey then advised to me that John is trying to cover for Mike the tech, so that the store doesn't have to replace the phone. And I said, of course he is. So then he advised to DeMarcus. He asked to speak to DeMarcus, and I gave him the phone to DeMarcus again. And he told DeMarcus and John that they would need to replace the phone and there would not be any fees on my account. So then DeMarcus was absolutely polite and took care of it immediately. John, not so much. John was doing all he could, including telling an untruth, as well as not cooperating with Sprint or Asurion management. So I signed for the replacement to be sent and was advised that it would be within a week. And the replacement phone did arrive on Friday, May 18th, but it also came with 3 envelopes for me to return the one phone, and I have 15 days or I'll be charged $900. So I'm not sure how these 3 envelopes are necessary, but I'm definitely going to call Sprint because they're going to definitely get that phone back immediately so that I don't get charged $900. Now, like I said, I like to give my shout outs, right? I would also like to give a shout out to the Sprint store at 2141 Veterans Boulevard. I've never been there, but my daughter and her husband have, and they did nothing but praise the people at that store. And I can't remember who they said the lady was that helped them, but they recommend her in that store to everybody they know because they treated them very professionally. So if you're in the Metairie area on Veterans Boulevard, go to 2141 Veterans Boulevard, and that Sprint store will take very good care of you. And if you live near the Harvey Gretna area, the Sprint store at 1451 Manhattan Boulevard is a great place to go, and they have awesome techs there. Now, also on Veterans is that store, 4025 Veterans Boulevard. My advice to you is stay away from there. If for some reason you must go to that store, you ask for the manager, the assistant manager, DeMarcus. He was great. He was professional. I have no qualms with him. But if you can't get a hold of DeMarcus, run as fast as you can and get out. Just go a little further down to 2141 Veterans Boulevard. Or if you're ever going the way of Harvey, go that way. But I would stay away from 4025 Veterans Boulevard. I will not ever go to that store again. Now, also, if you're in the Kenner area, there's a Sprint store at 303 West Esplanade. But you can only go to that store if you don't need a tech. They don't have techs over there. But that guy was such a gentleman and, so helpful. It's not his fault. He didn't know that store at 4025 Veterans Boulevard was going to be lousy and unprofessional. He didn't know that. And I also have to give a shout out to the very sweet gentleman at Walmart in the electronics department. I'm so sorry, sir, that I did not get your name. I was so upset that night. I was literally crying. I couldn't believe how these people treated us. I couldn't believe the service I was getting. I couldn't believe I was not going to be able to take my Note 9 on this trip. So here I am at Walmart. I have to get a Go phone. I have to get a separate service. So yeah, I was in tears, but I was so appreciative of what you did for us. That gentleman, he was about in his, I'd say 65 to 70 years old. He was tall. He was an older Caucasian guy, and he was absolutely adorable. He took his time in showing us the phones and the plans. And you know what? This guy wasn't even making a commission. Imagine that. Wonderful customer service just because he cared. Not because he was making any money. You know what I mean? So, John, at the 4025 Veterans Boulevard Sprint store, if you would ever like to learn excellent customer service skills, please run over to the Walmart on West Esplanade in Kenner. Find that tall gentleman around 70-ish and follow him around for a day. Your Sprint employer or whoever your employer is would really appreciate the learning tips you could get from this guy. You should also note that when management advises you to do something, you should probably listen to them. So anyway, John, I wish you all the best in your future and no hard feelings. Just look at it as a lesson learned through your journey in life so it doesn't happen again to you or anyone else. And God bless. And that's our show. Thanks for listening. And until we meet again, enjoy every day to its fullest. God bless. For comments or questions, you can reach us by email at yappy@post.com. Also, check us out on Twitter at Dorisi and our Facebook pages at Yappy Studio or Louisiana Entertainment Association. Anything and Everything with Doris is produced by Your Own Production Incorporated and comes out every week. So come on back. And feel free to add us to your favorite RSS feed, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Pod, and our favorite, Podbean. All links are found in our show notes below.